I'm Random Stranger, and I am continuing to play Gauntlet 3, currently on World 3. And once more, the goal of this world is to collect keys. This time, we're working out of kind of a hub area, where all the paths are locked until I locate a key. I get a key, go to the next section, find the key there, go to the next section, on and on. You've seen this before. Now, since I'm not going to have an awful lot to say about the gameplay, I thought I would take the opportunity to read excerpts from the Gauntlet III manual. Yes, even though the Commodore 64 version wasn't properly released, except the few copies that escaped were sent out to either reviewers or people who got early copies of the game from the company. Apparently, US Gold, the developer of the game, considered it complete and laid off the programmer. It doesn't really feel like it's complete. Anyways, since the rest of the ports got a manual, in this era they would make one manual for all of the games, different versions of the game, and then have a little sheet included in the box that explained details about the version that the player had bought. So let's see what the manual says about this area. This is the Swamp Kingdom. The Swamp Kingdom is an inhospitable region. Only those who know its intricate paths and secret ways can hope to survive long, for the marshes are deadly and inhabited with foul, pestilence-infected creatures. Worms, emerald crawlers, plague dogs, and others prey on those who stray from the islands. Deep within the swamp is a palace, wherein the people of this dank place have stored their greatest treasures. Among them, it is said, is the third part of the key to Capricorn's defeat. However, there is also much danger here, particularly when death stalks the corridors. Don't get your hopes up. Death doesn't appear until the end. Boy, I just love how I walk through that wall. You can see that was apparently the palace that you use as the hub, and then you come out to the swamp area. Now, regarding the monsters in this area, I guess those guys are supposed to be plague dogs? Maybe mud monsters? No, they've got the little shields. The manual tells me plague dogs. These are huge mastiffs with matted, patchy green fur, and they carry a host of vile contagions. Immune to all diseases themselves, they are still victims to a particular madness, and become frenzied with bloodlust when they attack. Well, maybe those guys are supposed to be emerald crawlers. The picture almost matches up, even though they're not green. These beasts once lived only in the forests of the Tree Kingdom. Now they hunger for flesh, and can be found in many other places as well. The smaller ones are bad enough, having a dangerous bite. The larger ones, on the other hand, walk virtually upright, and have been given armor and weapons by the Velcrons. They are slightly more intelligent, and have proved their courage in battle. Only one thing still shows their close relationship with the smaller crawlers, their powerful mandibles, with which they strip through the armor of fallen opponents to feast on the flesh beneath. Gotta love how these games would have these really overdone descriptions, and then you never actually see anything like that. Because everybody just kind of vaguely stumbles towards you. Alright. Another key down, walking all the way back. Go to the hub area, open up the next door. Just love how that food is just out of reach, and yet it's still there. Now that exit is actually the exit to the whole level, rather than just this region, or this particular section of the map. So I'm going to have to come back through here again after I get the key to get out. Let's look back and see what it said about the first two areas that I played through. The first one was the Tree Kingdom. The Tree Kingdom was founded by the tree dwellers of the Great Forest. These creatures are normally peaceful, keeping small herds of animals in pens on the ground, and gathering fruits and nuts. But the contagion from the Magic Kingdom has spread among them. Even some of the plants have now taken on a sinister new form, and the emerald crawlers which infest the land are deadly. The center of Capricorn's malice in this land is a vast graveyard, within which there is an ancient temple. Somewhere within lies the means to defeat Capricorn's minions in the forest, if only it can be found. Someone was paid to write this. Might as well try to clear out the spots around here before I go. You gotta love the random energy drain, too. The second place that I visited was the Mountain Kingdom. Are you recognizing a pattern in the titles of these areas? High above a yawning abyss, fragile pathways and swaying bridges wind their way to the heart of the Mountain Kingdom. There, it is said, lies a great treasure. For many who have walked these paths before, that treasure was the passport to death. For the heroes of Gauntlet, it leads to the defeat of Capricorn in this part of Capra. But it is a dangerous road, stirred by necromancers and the accursed Velcron. Ghosts, zombies, and mummies will rise up to attack. This is a land to be hurried through, for those who stay but for a little while remain forever. There weren't any ghosts, zombies, or mummies in that area. They were in the first area. But let's go back in the manual here a bit and tell you the actual story of this game. That key message actually didn't appear for me the first time I picked it up. Apparently, the messages are separate from the items, and you can get one without getting the other. One error I made in the previous video is you can have more than 3 potions, it just doesn't display them. And some of those potions are actually power-ups or power-downs, although I couldn't find any guide for the Commodore 64 as to which are which. So good luck figuring that out, although it doesn't really make that much of a difference. So, let's get to this story. Gauntlet III. First there was Gauntlet, a dangerous adventure against powerful adversaries. Then there was Gauntlet II, the challenging expedition to cleanse a mighty dungeon of its terrible inhabitants. Now comes Gauntlet III, the final quest. The whole island of Capra is imperiled by the powerful Lord of Decay, Capricorn, who threatens to unleash the most awesome war. Only the bravest adventurers can halt him, if they're lucky. That dramatic pause there was not me, that was actually in the text. The final quest. The ancient world of Gauntlet has many mysteries and dangers. Amidst its storm-tossed oceans, legends speak of one land which surpasses all others, Capra, home of the 8 kingdoms, island of Magnus the Wizard Peacekeeper. Capra has been many wars in its history, fought between the denizens of the lands, mountains, and forests. Death and misery wrought their harvests, and there appeared no end in sight to the suffering and agony. Then, several centuries ago, a wizard came to counsel the rulers of those kingdoms which remained, and bring them peace. When all disputes were solved, and all the borders redrawn, the wizard said thus: I have brought peace, and peace there shall... That's a stupid voice. I'm going to stop that. I have brought peace, and peace there shall remain. For each of the remaining kingdoms I shall take a small portion, and therefore make my own kingdom, the kingdom of magic. I shall build gates there between this world and the dark dimensions which would devour it. Then let this be my law, the law of Magnus the Wizard Eternal, the Wizard Peacekeeper. Should there be war ever again between the kingdoms on this land, then shall those gates be opened, and all the foul creatures of darkness let forth. This be the final peace of its, for if it's broken, all Capra will be at the mercy of the devourers. You know, that might be overkill once the whole war things is over with. The kingdom's rulers had little choice but to accept this truce, and so it was agreed 7 kingdoms should become 8. In the wake of this agreement, peace came at last to Capra. It prospered, and all the creatures who were once enemies became friends. For 3 centuries all was well. Then the Velcrons came. Legends spoke of sleek war galleys that skimmed along the boiling oceans, and others of vast caves that broke open on the surface of the land. Whatever their origin, the Velcrons were the servants of those grim entities who chafed behind the gates. Their purpose was singular, to bring the 8 kingdoms to mad war once more and cause all to be extinguished. We're up to the next world. This one, again, collect keys, only can access the gates in a certain order. Hub area. It's, we're kind of seeing the limits of this game at this point. However, food starts to become extremely plentiful, also at this point in the game. This key is a real nightmare to get. I think I wind up losing about 1,000 life trying to pick up this key. As guys appear from nothing, like that, I just take damage walking around. It's not because I don't want to get the key. I'm trying to walk away and then come back hopefully a little bit more in sync with wherever the magic spot is. It really is terrible. Finally. Okay. So. Yep, wrong door. Let's continue this story because I want to have the story finished before the end of this episode. Insidious and lore-wise, the Velcron sowed seeds of doubt and mistrust in the people of Capra. They brought the specter of violent death back to the land and gave false counsel to the kings and nobles. Finally, they achieved their aim. For one brief week, before fear and reason combined cried hold, the armies of the Tree Kingdom marched against those of the swamplands. Quickly the other kings rushed to establish their peace once more, casting anxious eyes towards the magic kingdom, fearing the worst. For when for a while there was no sign of the horrors foretold, all gave thanks to the gods for their deliverance. But as the months went by, a curse descended upon the land. The rivers which flowed out from the magic kingdom became foul, polluted, and lifeless. New courses evolved, spreading more of the killing ooze. And the wind, whenever it blew, carried the stench of decay and death. Yeah, of course it's the last door you try. Those brave enough to venture within the magic kingdom, Disney World? At least those few who returned spoke of a new king there, a being whose flesh was studded with the features of those he had devoured, a being of corruption. He was known as Capricorn, and somehow he had made Magnus his captive and taken his throne. Wise men deliberated and came to their conclusions. During the brief hours of madness that had almost brought two kingdoms to war, this being had passed the gates. Capricorn was the harbinger of doom. Thus Capra encompassed its ruin. Crops failed. Pestilence ensued. The poor were struck down by disease and plague. Worse, though, the people of the 8 kingdoms began to whisper hatred against each other once more, and plots were hatched for war. So the call has come to the bravest champions of all Capra. 8 are now gathered for this, the greatest challenge in the Gauntlet saga. Will they prevail against Capricorn and drive back his hordes beyond the gates? Can they prevail even though the very food they eat may be poisoned, even though there are so few they dare trust? For the sake of all Capra, we must hope so. Oh, 2 keys down. 1 key to go. I guess that story answers the question that a lot of the stuff is poison just at random. No reason for it. Like there, my life went down when I picked up the food. It's really bad design. Alright. Now, as I head back for the final key, let's learn about this kingdom. The Volcanic Kingdom. Of all the terrors Capricorn has released upon Capra, the greatest of all are the fire dragons. In this land above all, they have made their home and bar the way to success. The Volcanic Kingdom is a violent place where the magma from the world's core erupts onto the face of the planet, killing everything it touches. The lizard men who dwell here made their living by hunting for precious stones among the cooling magma, and riches are there for the taking. But the fire dragons covet the treasure of the Volcanic Kingdom for themselves, and will not easily part with it. Those guys are lizard men? I thought they were like wizards or something. Right. We actually have our first quest task since Area 1 here come up in a moment. Assuming I can break through all this. You might notice that only 5 enemies appear on the screen at any one time. Because if there's one thing Gauntlet wasn't known for, it's having large hordes of enemies. You can see just how much life I've collected. I'm way over the starting health of 5,000 now. crystal to disable the dragons, so there you go. The first task that I've had to do since that find the bucket for the well thing at the very beginning. So let's see what the manual says about dragons. When the first humans came to Kepra, the dragons were hunted into near extinction. Only two types remain. Fiery dragons live amidst the fire and magma of the volcanic kingdom, and their fiery breath can turn a hero to ashes in a second. The ice dragons dwell in the remotest part of the kingdom of ice, and their breath is so cold it turns flesh and blood into a fragile crystal. In the earlier Gauntlet quests, dragons were often found blocking vital passages. Their awesome power capable of slaying the greatest heroes in a single moment. Now in the open air, they are even more fearsome. Who can stand against such beasts? Actually, there are no ice dragons in this game. Look, dragons! How threatening that they sit there as background objects. There we go. There's one that's breathing fire. He's the only one, though. If only there was some crystal I could shoot that would disable him. I forgot about that other dragon breathing fire. Well, I guess there's a couple on this stage that breathe fire, although that one can't even hit anybody because he's off on a little spot by himself. At this point in the game, it's actually more efficient in most cases to start running through enemies. Yay, goodbye, Crystal. That was a nice graphical glitch that popped in there. We're coming up on the exit to this world. On to the next kingdom and next video, where things get really bad. This, believe it or not, was kind of the high point of the game.